AT&T believes that your phone is part of what makes you, you. So we understand why you're holding it as you eat those cheesy snacks on the go, while you listen to your favorite podcast on the subway, or when you video call your best childhood friend from your favorite concert. Nothing should come between you and your connectivity. AT&T 5G is fast, reliable, and secure, and it keeps you connected to family, friends, fun, everything you care about. You'll enjoy fast speeds while you download apps, share your favorite videos, or get your game on. We know you don't let that phone out of sight, much less your grip. But no matter, this is a no judgment zone. AT&T wants to ensure that you can stay connected to what matters most to you, so you can prioritize yourself. Requires compatible plan and device. Coverage not available everywhere. Learn more at att.com/5G for you.
This is Holly Fry from Stuff You Missed in History class. Toyota is a leader when it comes to electrified vehicles. Today, battery EVs make up less than 10% of new vehicles sold because of higher cost and concerns about range and charging. Enter Beyond Zero, Toyota's vision for a carbon-neutral future. With an electrified, diversified lineup of hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and battery EVs, Toyota empowers you to choose how to reduce your own carbon footprint. Learn more and get details at toyota.com/beyondzero. Toyota, let's go places.
It's time. Time to get credit for the work you've done. Time to get the recognition you deserve. With Purdue Global, you can move forward in your career, for your family, and for yourself. You're worth the investment in yourself to earn a degree you're proud of, a degree that employers will respect. Purdue's online university is designed to support working adults like you who know it's never too late to accomplish your goals. It's never too late to make a comeback. It's time to start yours today at purdueglobal.edu.
This is the Jabberjaw Podcast Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 100 Words or Less, the podcast. This is our best of 2015 episode. Now, I'm gonna lay down some track for you here because this is, unfortunately, one of the people who typically is on this show is not on the show. So Jeremy Bolm, good friend of the show, good friend of mine, good friend of the other guest on the show, Joey Cahill. Let me back it up even further. So we had an episode in the can and recorded in December. And I don't know what happened, but basically the episode was deleted. And I could not find an audio file that made this sound appropriate. And it sucks. And I hate it when that happens. And honestly, it's only happened to me one other time. And I felt like an idiot. So we needed to re-record it. Jeremy, unfortunately, recently got in a car accident. And that really threw him for a loop and threw off his schedule, threw off the time in which we were supposed to record this. And basically, long story short, I couldn't keep pushing this back until like February or March. So you know what? You're going to have to settle with myself and my very, very good friend / owner of 6131 Records, Joey Cahill, on doing the year-end episode. I hope you enjoy it. It's honestly one of my favorites of the year because we get to talk about all the music that we liked over the year and then all the movies and all the television show. So it's a long one. Obviously, you're looking at the timestamp right now and you're being like, whoa, 2 hours. And it's like, yeah, that's what you're in for. So strap in, enjoy, and hopefully you will come away with some records you can listen to, some movies you can check out, and, either yell at us for missing certain records or, whatever it is that you like to do on these things. So without further ado, here is the special Best of 2015 episode with myself and Joey Cahill talking about our favorite records, movies, and TV. And you'll join us mid-conversation where we're talking about, frankly, I can't remember. But we'll be talking about something interesting that'll kind of segue into, and actually, I just realized that we recommend some podcasts as well. So there's a lot of recommendations in here, and I know a lot of you really enjoy this. So again, I apologize for Jeremy. He wishes he could have been here, but it just didn't happen. And for the first time as well, we actually had to do this over Skype just because of, again, scheduling. So here you go. There's enough preamble here, but trust me, you'll still enjoy it. And I won't even talk to you after the show's over because really, you don't need to hear from me anymore after talking for 2 hours. because I was thinking about after our last sort of powwow in regards to music, and then obviously our last conversation with the death of RDO and how trying to find a suitable replacement. I'm actually becoming nostalgic for my MP3s, like my own iTunes music file. Like I find myself scrolling through that a lot more in regards to like not even looking at what's on Apple Music, but just being like, oh man, like what stuff is not readily accessible on streaming sites and services that I can listen to? Like, do you do that at all?
Well, definitely. And I mean, not necessarily my go-to, but that's, in the car, Nicole and I listen to Into Another Seamless, and that's the only way we can, because it's not available anywhere else.
That's true.
So yeah, there's definitely stuff, where because I have iTunes Match or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That thing's called. So it's, a bunch of crappy metalcore CDs that are definitely not out there that I will be like, oh, I wonder if this is still good. Nope.
Totally. You're like, great, I got my Red Roses for a Blue Lady CD. Awesome.
Never liked that band.
No, I know. You and I agreed on that.
But Comey Eternal, man, that was...
Oh, dude, I loved how much you loved that band.
That band was great.
There's actually a previous guest on the podcast, this designer named John Contino. He did an unbelievable, 90s metalcore mix on RDO that was just I mean... a good 80% of it was just unskippable. It was like every song that came on, I'm like, oh, dude, are you kidding me? It's like, hello 2001, hello 97, hello 98. It was just so great. Awesome. But yeah, it's weird where now that everything is accessible, I'm going back to my sort of, I don't know, I got to listen to the stuff that no one knows about sort of vibe. It's weird.
Yeah, totally.
And so the percentage that you broke down before for me, as far as how you listen, podcasts, vinyl, streaming, how do you break that down in your life?
So I don't listen to vinyl as much as I'd like to, just because it's tough. I don't really have a room for it necessarily, or a separate space. So it's just in the living room.
Right.
So when, if I'm cleaning up with, Everett's running around, we might listen to some records. He's very curious about the record player, so that's exciting, sort of. Exciting that he's curious. It's terrifying that he will touch it.
Right.
And then, so and then I don't listen to music in the car, rarely ever, unless it's to listen to a new 613 record to, not listen to it on my computer speakers. Mm-hmm. So it's usually just podcasts in the car, and then Spotify at home, when I'm playing video games or just not listening to records.
Right.
So I would say I'd say my 50% podcast, and then probably 25 streaming and vinyl.
Okay. That makes sense. Do you don't listen to any you don't listen to other any other spoken audio, you don't listen to audiobooks or anything like that?
No, I always think about it, but I get so there's certain podcasts that I have to listen to.
Right.
That if I get too far behind, I get really mad at myself.
Right.
So I don't do enough driving to even catch up on my podcast these days.
Right. The uninterrupted, I got a, 2-hour stretch that I'll be able to knock out, 1/8 this book or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of podcasts, I know we didn't talk about this at all, but what are your, once the new episode is published, what are your, top 3, top 4 sort of shows that you go to? Present company excluded, because obviously. Obviously.
My boy, Bill Simmons, pretty much everything on the watch, or no, on Channel 33, including the Watch,
sure,
which is Chris. What's his last? Why I forget his name? Andy Greenwald and Chris
Ryan.
Bleh. What is it?
Chris Ryan.
Chris Ryan. My girl Juliet's got a couple new podcasts.
You're extremely excited about that.
She's got a bachelor podcast that's pretty great. But besides, pretty much those Bill Simmons and anything on Channel, or most things on Channel 33. And if it's, like the Slash Film Cast, I listen to pretty much as soon as possible once I've seen the movie.
I love that. Like that show's so, it's weird because obviously there's so many options for movie podcasts out there, but for whatever reason, that's just the one that I just really like it. It's comforting. It's weird.
I really like Jeff Kanata. I feel like him and I are like kindred spirits when it comes to movies, except for not watching trailers because I think that's weird.
Right.
But like, I feel like our like taste are very much in line. David Chin just makes me mad.
Yes. He says very provoking stuff.
He always has to be the difficult one. But I really enjoy it. I like hearing their take, especially if I agree with them. I don't like feeling different.
Yeah. You're like, I don't like looking on the outside of this.
But aside from, those podcasts, there's a podcast called The Houndtooth
Discussions with Moshe Kasher.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I haven't listened to that at all.
It's really good.
Okay. I like him. I like him a lot.
Me too. The recording is always a little spotty, but it's always interesting just hearing, because do you know the concept of it?
He just usually, like, they have a subject and they bring like a sort of professional person that is related to that subject, or am I correct?
Yes. And then like there's usually 2 or 3 comics that kind of like, chime in with jokes or ask questions, and it's always interesting and funny at the same time.
Nice.
And talking about subjects that a lot of times they're like, I'm curious to know about, like, the gay movement in San Francisco in the 70s.
Sure.
Like, sometimes they're super specific, and then like the most recent one was just religion. So, or there was one about like dinosaurs. Like so they're kind of all across the board. But yeah, those are, I've kind of
narrowed your focus.
Yeah, there's ones that like WTF I never listen to anymore, unless it's like and I'm sure this is breaking your heart, Ajay. You love.
I do worship his canon.
I just once he got past like through all the comedians he had beef with, it just wasn't as interesting to me anymore. I like the tension. I don't like I don't know.
Yeah. No, I can understand. I mean, he as a person, he's obviously changed, and he's definitely keeps things very very free flowing now in ways that he didn't. Well, I guess he always has, but in this respect, where it's just like he doesn't. He does like literally no research for a lot of these people. Sometimes it's like the famous actors. He just kind of walks through their IMDb page. Like,
yeah. Well, that's kind of like when I think I started turning like not being anti Mark Maron, but like just being like, I don't need to listen to this every episode, is when he interviewed the guy from the Shins, and it was right after their last record come out, and he had fired every member of the band and just brought in like new people. And I was just like, fucking ask him about this. Like, let's get to the dirt. Like, what's the story?
Right.
And it was just like blowing smoke for an hour, and it's like, okay.
Right. He leaves questions on the table.
Yes. And then when he interviewed Connor Oberst and talking about Bright Eyes was just like, there's face palm after face palm.
Right. But sure.
But yeah, but those are probably my
your go-to ones.
Yeah.
I listen to way too many. I mean, it's like I'm looking at my Overcast player, and it's just, I mean, it's absurd because there's no way I'm ever caught up on anything. Usually I'm always like 1 or 2 behind, but it's like the Jamie Joss's podcast is really good. I'm very picky on the interviews that I listen to of his, just because he does get, I don't know. I mean, he's very insightful and intelligent, but there are some times where it's just, it really depends on the guest. Like, sometimes he has like old 80s hair metal dudes on, and they just talk about steak and titties, and it's just like, okay, like that's fine. I don't identify with that. The long form podcast is really, really good if you're into like journalism or, the press, that sort of stuff, writing in general. It's just really, really interesting because it's a world that, most people exist around but have no idea. It's like, what does it mean to be a freelance writer? Do you get paid by the word? And like all this other stuff where you're just like, that's really interesting how that works. And like, how do you write for GQ? And then how you do also write for, National Geographic? Just really interesting stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then this show's really popular, but a lot of people still, especially in our sort of world, don't listen to it. That 99% Invisible show, just, kind of mimicking the same sort of idea of what you're talking about with Moshe's podcast, where, the focus of 99% Invisible is all architecture. And he basically just walks through the host, Roman Mars, just walks through, a particular, building or historical fact about this stuff. And he's also obsessed with flags, like state flags and city flags and just design in general. But I can make a Big Bang Theory reference here, but I feel like I'll lose the audience. Sorry, yeah, you'll lose me. I haven't watched that show, but neither do I. Yeah. Good. Yeah, you didn't tell anybody that. But yeah, that's a really good show, and it's just it's unbelievable because he's built just such a wide, a large audience for himself, and then he started his own network where he has 600 or 700 shows underneath him, and he's just been able to do it in the same exact principles as like Discord Records is a huge influence on him, and he's straight edge, and he's like a total punk kid. And so anyways, it's just really interesting to see this person who, would by any stretch of the imagination would look at that and be like, oh yeah, he's just like a public radio guy. And it's like, well, no, his house is built on Ian's house as opposed to, being a radio dude. So that's a really cool show.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would listen to it. You'd probably, cool. You don't have to listen to every single one. It's definitely one of those ones where you can kind of pick and choose, but people always ask me where it's like, oh, what shows do you listen to? So I thought it's a nice little segue into the music that we listen to.
Yes.
Excuse me. So do you want to start these things off with your number 10 pick, my friend?
Yes. I need my list closed. But my number 10 is Joey Badass, and the record is called Badass.
With money sign.
Yeah, the Badass is spelled B4 period DA period money sign.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I still haven't listened to the record. I liked all of his, because he put out a ton of singles before this, right?
To be honest, I've never gone back.
Okay.
I heard the song Paper Trails on someone's had a hip hop Spotify playlist, and I was in a car once, and this song just blew me away. And it made, so I went and bought the record, and and I've been listening to it a lot.
Do you buy a lot of hip hop on vinyl, or you?
I do.
Okay.
I do. A lot of times it's cheap. I mean, not like the new Kendrick Lamar record, but
right. Isn't that like $60 or something?
Probably something. I'm sure it's outrageously expensive. I saw one today that was only $30. But, that seems, I don't know. Whatever. I don't even really like that record. But,
you feel like you need to own it.
I kind of do.
Right.
Because I feel like I should I don't not like it.
Yeah. But no, I understand what you're saying. It's like there are records that it's like it gets such a groundswell of support by either people you trust, admire, whatever description you want to put on it. And you're like, well, everyone gets this. And it's a cool record, but I don't worship at its altar.
Yeah. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I get that. It's like, yeah, way to go, dude. You met Barack Obama. People love this record, but it's just, maybe it's not on my top 10 list, which is it's not on either of ours.
So there we go.
There we go. Pitchfork.
Yeah. But Joey Badass just has this total 90s vibe to it that I love. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, and that song Paper Trails just blew me away.
Nice. Yeah. I got keyed into him because at one point when I was at PETA, we were trying to work with him on something. I think he was some anti-fur thing or whatever. And I just remember, obviously the name is hilarious. So I immediately was like, oh, sure, like I got to check this guy out. And then I listened to him. I think it was just like some singles. And I was like, this dude was cool. Cause I think I listened to him and, oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. This dude named Kid Ink. And like, it was like in a matter of 2 weeks, I was listening to all these like random hip hop dudes that I'd never heard of before. I think Vince Staples, cause he had some singles out at the time, and it was just like,
that's another record that got a ton of hype and it's good, but it didn't like, I don't know.
Yeah, that was the, I mean, if I were to, kind of make a default slot for hip hop in my top 10 list, that record probably would have been in there for me. Probably just because I listened to it the most out of all the hip hop stuff that came out this year, but it didn't crack the veil if I was comparing it to all the other records I put on there. Yeah.
Did you listen to that Big Sean record at all? It's great.
Okay.
It's great.
You are my hip hop aficionado. You and Scott Arnold, even though Scott Arnold has a tendency to be like, well, to be fair, the new Justin Bieber is pretty good, but he always comes out of left field with like, "Do you listen to this?" No, I haven't, Scott. I guess I will, maybe.
Scott and I were texting today about The Challenge, the greatest television show ever.
The fifth American sport.
Might be fourth. Might be
better than hockey.
I mean, yeah,
better than golf.
I mean, and once football is outlawed, something's got to take its place. So why not have it be The Challenge?
I never really considered this, but there has to be. Well, no, you probably can't gamble on The Challenge, right? Like, there's no lines on it.
No, there's no lines. I know people do like
fantasy drafts.
Yeah. But I mean, even that, like, you can kind of like. I don't do this, but I know, like. I think like Jacoby and Juliet,
right.
I'm talking like they're my friends. Like I think I know they're not allowed to like post on social media, but it's like sometimes you can kind of like by the time when they start posting, you can tell when they're so
yeah.
I think there's holes in that.
Yeah, there's no way that you could like theoretically bet money on something that has already been predetermined like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I'll have to dive into that record a little bit further. My number 10 record is the Foxing record, Dealer, it's called. And I think I remember you saying that you dove into it a little bit more after our last conversation.
I did. It was very good.
Beautiful record. It's
a record where I wish I would have been able to spend more time with it because who knows where it would have ended up. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was impressed.
Because I don't know why I really wrote the band off as just like, oh yeah, here's like a Me Without You Junior. Like I saw them with the Hotelier. They played at Chain Reaction and they were good, but like they were really energetic and like, not like, like at the drive-in, like spitting on their heads or anything like that. But I just got that sort of, energetic vibe from them. But then this record is obviously so subdued and casual and laid back and textured and just, really thoughtful, especially for what I presume that these dudes were like in their early 20s, but most of them are in their mid to late 20s. So that's, makes a little more sense that they could write a record like this. But it just totally took me by surprise and I loved it. And I think if I did maybe, if that record did come out a little bit earlier in the year, that probably could have climbed up a little bit more in my list, but it's just such a beautiful record and I love those records where it's like you're not expecting anything and then people start talking positively about something and then you're like, all right, impress me. And then you listen to it and you're just like, ooh, I need to shut the fuck up. I am
impressed.
Totally. I don't need to have that record store clerk mentality that you and I, unfortunately, try to shed so many years ago.
Yes. Sticks with you forever.
It does. But yeah, way to go, guys. Way to turn a music snob's heart around. And they're from St. Louis too, which I find so charming in a way as well.
Yeah, they been Choir Vandals on 613 and just played their record release not that long ago.
Nice. Choir Vandals aren't from St. Louis though, are they?
They are.
Oh, for some reason I thought they were from Illinois.
Will lived in Illinois for a while. What are they claim St. Louis. I don't know who they whatever.
Yeah. Dude, this is really not that important.
Yeah.
What's your number 9?
The Tallest Man on Earth, Dark Bird is Home. Which I think this is his 4th record. third or fourth, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was, I heard the first record, years ago, and was just immediately blown away. Just like his voice is so unique, and just like, something about the singer-songwriter stuff that he does. That he does. It sounds like it hasn't been done before. Like he's not like necessarily reinventing the wheel, but it's not like just another like white guy with a beard.
Right.
But and then I kind of like this. I didn't stop following him, but just like the second and third record just didn't interest me as much. I didn't keep coming back to him. But then this record just like blew me away. And I'm, it's still on like constant repeat. Like I listen to it all the time, probably more so than I even listened to the first record.
Right.
Which to me, it's always like when your fourth record is, my favorite record, like that's not usually how it works out.
Right. Yeah. Your first exposure to stuff is usually where you end up like going, especially after a while. You don't continually go, man, this new record. I kind of forget about the old ones.
Yeah. Like this is unrelated, but I was having a conversation with someone, and we were talking about Alkaline Trio, and she was like, "Oh, my favorite album is My Shame Is True." I was just like, "What are you talking about?" Like
Totally.
And it comes out that was the first record that was her introduction to them, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But come on now.
Right. You definitely can pick a person by age and be like, okay, especially with bands that have like a large body of music where it's like, like Hot Water Music, for an example. It's like, you could be like, oh, okay, so you're a Forever and Counting person because you're over the age of 30. Or it's like, oh, you're a Caution person because you're, 27. Like you're totally able to pick these
and
things.
I'm a Fuel for the Hate Game person, so.
Oh, there you go, dude. You're bucking the trend, but and see, I love Caution, so maybe not the best examples, but still, your point of the introduction to an artist's body of work, when you immediately identify with it, it's hard to kind of replace that with newer stuff that comes out, especially so deep into an artist's career. And
I can even AFI is one of my favorite bands of all time. And my favorite record is Shut Your Mouth and Open Your Eyes, because that was I think the first record where they started to find their sound. And it was the first record that really hit me. I don't think that's their best record by any means, but it's my favorite.
Right.
So
you couldn't argue against someone being like, oh, that's not their best record. You're like, yeah, but it's my favorite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's a difference between best and favorite.
Totally.
And as long as you're, I guess, cognizant enough, you could be able to differentiate between the two. Many people can, obviously, but
yeah,
they're stupid. They'll die on their hill. They'll be like, no, this record's the best. Well, no, that's just your favorite. It's not the best. It sounds terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let me tell you, the holidays are awesome. They've got some great moments, whether it's spending time with friends and family, gift giving, all of the things. I personally love Christmas lights. I can't wait to put them up. It just makes me feel warm inside. But there are moments where it's like, man, it's overwhelming, or I'm feeling really alone or sad. All of the things that just, can kind of compound it during the holidays. That is why you need to take a beat and maybe take that moment for yourself. Give the gift of time to yourself. And that's honestly why I love dipping into therapy. That's why I also love working with BetterHelp, because they make finding a therapist online so dang easy. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. Like I said, it's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire, and then you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for any reason at no additional charge. Please, in this season of giving, give to yourself as well with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Ray to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Ray for 10% off your first month. Take care of yourself, please.
We all agree that reducing carbon emissions is a good thing. And once again, Toyota is leading the way. We hear a lot about fully electric vehicles, and Toyota has them. with more on the way. But we also know a BEV is not for everyone, whether it's because of the cost, range, or concern about finding a charging station when you need it. Plus, the raw materials used to manufacture batteries are limited. Enter Beyond Zero, Toyota's vision for a carbon-neutral future in vehicles and manufacturing plants, too. In the years ahead, the materials used to make just one long-range battery for an EV could be used to make batteries for 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 gas-electric hybrids. That's why Toyota's position today is electrified, diversified, empowering you to choose how to reduce your own carbon footprint with the vehicle that's right for you, a hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or battery EV. So shop, learn more, and get details at toyota.com/Beyond Zero. Toyota, let's go places.
Hey guys, it is Ryan. I'm not sure if you know this about me, but I'm a bit of a fun fanatic when I can. I like to work, but I like fun too. It's a thing. And now the truth is out there. I can tell you about my favorite place to have fun. Chumba Casino. They have hundreds of social casino style games to choose from with new games released each week. You can play for free anytime, anywhere. And each day brings a new chance to collect daily bonuses. So join me in the fun. Sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And I remember us looking up I was like, he's from Sweden, right? And you guys were like, no. But
I always thought he was from Texas.
Yeah, that was why I was immediately taken by him too, because basically anything from Sweden, I'm like all in on, like unapologetically. And so yeah, I bought into him and everything that he's done. The thing I like about his records too is like they're so easy to listen to. Like they really. But they're engaging enough to entertain you, but not enough to where it's like so distracting where you're just like, oh, there's that one song on the record where it's like, he's like beatboxing or something, like, something that's like so out of left field where you're like, oh gosh, I can't listen to that right now.
Well, it's one of those records that either like, if you have repeat, you don't have repeat on and it's over, you're just like, whoa, how did that go over so fast?
Right.
Like, just like, or if it goes, with repeat, like it repeats, you're just like, you don't really, it's not saying the songs sound the same. It's just like an easy listen where it doesn't like a lot of times where if I hear the same song twice, like I can't listen to the same song twice in a row. So if I I have a hard time listening to records twice in a row. So if like a lot of times it'll start over and I'll be like, turn it off. But like This is a record where like it can just keep going and I don't really like, it doesn't bother me.
Right. You're like, this is fine. Go ahead. Repeat yourself, my friend.
I would like to see him. I've never seen him before.
I know my our mutual friend Riley Breckenridge. He because I think he was actually the one who turned me on to them because he saw them. This was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago. He saw them at the Henry Fonda, and he was like, it was transcendent. And I was like, that's crazy. Like, how could a person that's essentially a singer songwriter be transcendent? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah,
but. There he is.
Good on him.
Yeah, exactly. My number 9 record, it will inflate your ego, Joey, because you released this record. It's the Julien Baker record, Sprained Ankle. And obviously you released it, so you're very biased, and you will agree with almost every word I will say here.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's right. But I definitely, obviously, primarily listened to it because you released it. I probably would have found the record otherwise, but I wouldn't have been so on top of it if it wasn't for my relationship with you. But it was just so nice to listen to a record that, you could tell was just coming from every right place. There was no pretension about it. There was no goals. There was nothing going on besides this record was recorded and people heard it. And then people wanted to release it, and then more people are following it along. And it's like it's every way that an artist or band should be exposed. That's like how I feel about the way that people are finding out about this.
Totally, it's like a really, and being on, the
business end of it all.
Yeah, like
you're
the
suit. I don't trust you.
Yeah, seeing like the like watching it happen and watching her, get more and more attention is like, it's really cool to see on this end, yeah. And it couldn't happen to a sweeter girl. So
Yeah, she seems like she obviously has a very good head in her shoulders. She's intelligent about it all, and she's just like, she's looking at this for what it is, which is an opportunity as opposed to being opportunistic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she has, there was no intentions of like, I'm going to make it.
Right.
It was, I'm in my dorm room away from my band. I'm just going to write some songs. Oh, go record them. And then, fast forward, this record was done maybe a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, that's clearly not what's happening anymore.
Clearly.
As I just saw her play with the National for 2 nights in a row.
Right. How was I was actually going to ask you about that. How was the response for her those nights? And I presume the National was just flawless as usual. We don't need to comment on how.
I'm going to talk about the National for a second.
Please.
In a minute.
Okay.
She's by herself. She has no band. It's her pedals and her electric guitar. And there's always going to be a few people, but she takes over the room. It's so impressive. People paid $150 for normal tickets for these national shows, or $350 for VIP seats. And the VIP seats was like dinner at the venue is super small, and it had like a bar around it, and you could sit at the bar and watch the show and get food, I guess. And the first night she was done, and people were cheering for more. I mean, it was crazy. Just
That's amazing.
Watching as the crowd get quieter and more appreciative as her set went on was pretty impressive.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it was great. It was a very cool experience. The National is the greatest band in the history of music.
They are.
They were being around, we were with Julien, when she would get there to load in and soundcheck, and then the National and their crew were incredibly nice and incredibly supportive of Julien, and it was very cool to see, because they didn't have to do that. Matt the singer doesn't need to come up and introduce himself to all of us and give Julien a hug because she played shows with Elvi a few months ago. It was she broke a string, and not Bryce, Aaron, is that the other guitar player?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Just was here's some strings, gave her strings. It's just it's cool to see, a band who could sell out the Hollywood Bowl.
Be real human beings.
Yeah, it was. Right. And the first day, they hadn't played in so long. Their sound check was practice. So just literally Julien and I, and the staff who were working got to see the National play 12 songs.
Nice.
It was we had our own private show.
Right. You're go ahead, keep going, guys. You can work that stuff. You can work that stuff out whenever you want to.
Well, they would play songs that they ended up not even playing. I'm not trying to rub it in, because I know that you're.
No, it's hey.
It was.
I'm glad that someone has the experience.
It was incredible.
That's so good.
It was really great. It was awesome.
I do.
And Aspen is the weirdest place in the world.
Well, it's Aspen. It's basically putting a really, really, really rich town on top of a mountain, and then being hey, all you local people need to get along with everybody here with all of this money happening.
Yeah.
The thing that scares me about the National, just because you and I and most of our friends are so near and dear to this band, watching them grow and just watching them play and be the massive band that they are, is I don't know where they could jump next, how much bigger can they get?
It's just crazy to me that they're not on the radio.
Right. And that's the thing where
so
it's I don't know where they're going to go. Are they going to be, are they going to be as big as whatever U2? I don't, and granted, that doesn't, maybe I shouldn't say that I'm concerned about that, but I'm just where's this band's place? Are they just going to be that hugely, insanely successful indie band that
Well, it's like in Mistaken for Strangers. I don't remember who asked him, but someone asked Matt the singer, how famous are you? And he just puts his fingers barely, a little bit apart, and he's I'm this famous. Right. And it's true. we know if he walked on the street, you and I would be like, oh shit, that's the dude from the National.
Of course.
No one else cares. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So like there, you know, is room for them to get bigger in like the big picture, but I don't think that will necessarily happen. Like, I don't think they're not writing songs that the mass public are gonna lose their shit over.
No, totally.
And they did play a new song, and it's not like, you know, a radio hit.
Right. They're not changing the mold.
No. Although, I mean, it was different, but, you know, it's not like pop hooks and, you know, a dance beat.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean,
interesting.
As long as they just keep putting out records, I don't care.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, they're how you and I always measure our years as being good if we get a Jimmy Eat World record. Now we do have another band that we can add to that repertoire of like, oh, it'll be a good year because National's releasing a record.
Which I would imagine that Jimmy Eat World will release a record this year. Has it been?
It's true.
It's been 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they've
yeah, got to step on it. I know Jim Adkins on Instagram has been publishing some stuff of them writing and whatever. So we have that to look forward to. Did you do your number 9 already?
Yes.
Okay.
Tallest Man on Earth.
Oh, that's right. I'll kick my number 8 and then we'll kick it to you, and then you can do 7 after that. So we'll just
cool.
Yeah. So my number 8 is Leon Bridges, the Coming Home record. It's the record. You would play it for anybody, and it would be like the most inoffensive record. Like, people immediately gravitate to it. They're just like, "Wait, what is this? Like, who is this? Wait, what do you mean this isn't like some '50s Motown record you just randomly discovered?" It's like, no, this came out this year. It's like, what? What do you mean?
It's and we'll probably talk about this record maybe a little later, but it's like a Motown record with like current pop hooks. Like,
totally.
I mean, it doesn't sound. It could fit in that era, but it doesn't sound dated at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it sounds current.
And I think the thing about it too is that it doesn't sound, I know I use this word for describing Julien, but like, it doesn't sound contrived, because I think it's like, you can tell when people are trying to capture a specific like feeling and moment and are being very calculated about it. And like, I mean, clearly like Leon Bridges knew what he was doing with this. Like, this wasn't accidental that he decided to dress up like how he does and how to make his record. Like, I don't mean to paint that broad of I don't mean to say that this wasn't just like, oh, happenstance, but it's like, it just feels authentic.
Yes.
And it comes from that place where it's just like, no, this is the music I grew up on. This is the music I love, but I want to put my own little, new 2015 polish on it.
Totally.
Yeah. So yeah, the record's awesome. I do want to see him live. I have watched some videos of him on YouTube and looks awesomely solid. So
see, he was on Saturday Night Live recently.
Oh, I didn't watch that at all.
I wasn't that impressed.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live's a tough,
Saturday Night Live,
tough
yeah, and it doesn't always sound the best. Like, the vocals were just way too loud.
Right.
But that's not necessarily his fault.
Right.
But it was weird because I don't remember the first song he played, but his second song was The River, which is like the least like
totally
TV, like,
yeah.
It's awesome that he played that song.
Yeah, pretty low key for that sort of audience.
Like, hey, new audience who's never heard me before, I'm going to play a real slow, quiet song that's just me, another voice, and a guitar.
Right. We'll chill you out here.
Yeah, it was cool. That was good. The first song, though, I was not that impressed by.
Yeah, whatever. The next time he comes through, like, not excluding when he's coming through, well, like literally right now. I think, he's gonna play the Hollywood Bowl. He's gonna be in such a massive venue that you'll be like, oh wow. So I guess everybody likes this record.
Yeah. Well, it was. I think over the weekend Nicole and I were in Kate Spade's store, and it was on in there. It's just
totally.
So, yeah.
It definitely. Yeah, I've heard this record at multiple retail outlets that it's like, oh yeah, this is a perfect retail record.
Yes, exactly.
What's your number 8?
Turnstile, Nonstop Feeling.
Nonstop Feeling.
It's probably my favorite hardcore record of the year. I feel like they're making hardcore interesting and doing something that like they want to do, and at the same time, people are just eating it up, which is awesome to see that they took this risk and it's paying off, I think, very well.
Yes.
Direct support to Basement coming up will, I think
break him to a new audience of people.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just awesome seeing a band that like doesn't care, they're not trying to fit to a mold. And it's awesome. I've only seen them once, but the one time I did, like, it was like seeing, like Bane in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where it was just like kids didn't care. They just went nuts, jumping off anything, like just wanting to be a part of it and like, go crazy. And it was that, and that's what happened during their set. And it was just like kids didn't care if they got hurt.
Right. It definitely,
it was just, but not in like a violent, like aggressive way, just in I'm going to lose my mind. I need to do a front flip off this monitor.
Right. Yeah. In a very just like, this is what if you were to like close your eyes and embody like a positive hardcore show vibe, it's like, that's what they're trying to create.
And like in a time when like, there's a lot of like, moshing hard, like that's like a thing. It's cool to see a band that kids just want to have a good time to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's encouraging because it's like, it's encouraging to show the fact that it's like, there's so like clearly effort is placed in the band as far as like them writing music. And well, I mean, even though their first 7-inch honestly isn't very good.
No, I didn't really like either of their 7 inches.
Yeah. But you can tell where it's just like they were just building their own momentum, by obviously doing what you're supposed to do as a band, just playing out and getting in front of people and, making the right connections and touring with the right friends and that sort of stuff. And then, it just gets it to where they're at now where it's like, you do feel it's like that groundswell of just like everybody jumping on at the same, juncture and starts to really just, add fuel to the fire. It's awesome.
Totally. Yeah. So my number 7 is Hop Along, Painted Shut.
Saddle Creek's finest.
Yes. There hasn't been a Saddle Creek record I've really paid that much attention to in a few years, so it's cool to have another one.
They're not, but correct me if I'm wrong though. Saddle Creek isn't very prolific anymore. I mean, they don't release.
I don't think so.
They don't release a ton of records.
They're doing like a new Thermals record, like later this year.
Mm-hmm.
But that's and then I think they kind of just stick to like, oh, Tim Castro wants to do a solo record or The Good Life or
right.
I think it's like they're the quote unquote like their family that they've worked with for the past 20 years,
right.
15, 20, yeah. So it's like I don't think they're really branching out and like, yeah.
Yeah, they're not in the hunt for new bands.
No.
Unless new bands are like desperate to be on their label, which I know I'm fairly certain Hop Along was like throwing themselves, be like, hey guys, we want to be on your label.
And I mean, kudos to Saddle Creek for doing the record, because this record is phenomenal. As someone who, I wasn't in love with the first record, I thought it was cool, and just like checked this one out on a whim, just being like, oh, let's see what we have here, and I was blown away. Just her voice is very cool and unique. And
to be clear too, if someone pays attention to your listening patterns, you have a very strong soft spot for female vocalists.
I do.
You love. And well, actually, I was going to act like it's difficult for me to wrap my head around that, but it's just like, No Doubt's one of your favorite bands, so of course you like female vocalists.
No Doubt is the reason I got into punk, so it's like it started there. And
right.
Keep on trucking.
But yeah, the record is really, really good. I actually liked, it was cool, Saddle Creek, I'm for whatever reason on their publicity list, and they sent out emails, whatever, being like, hey, here's our new record, blah, blah, blah. But they sent out an email because this record came out in February to like remind people like, hey, remember we put out this record earlier in the year and you really liked it. So here, put it in your best of list.
I mean, that's smart because
super smart.
Yeah.
But
although I'm looking at my list Joey Badass, I think, came out in January. Turnstile came out in January. Hop Along came out in February.
Yeah, you're early adopter there.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
And how do you track your list? Do you just like keep songs in a playlist, or you just have?
No, I just have a list in my phone of records I enjoy.
Got it.
And then I kind of like, as the year goes on, like I haven't listened to this. Like Death Cab, the new Death Cab wasn't there for a while, and I was like, you know what, this record's cool, but it's definitely not going to make my list. So I'll erase records as the year goes on, just because I know to make it easier when I need to really
whittle
get
it down.
Brass tacks, yeah.
I usually put like my favorite song from a record on like a best of 2015 playlist, and then there I just kind of sort through the list and be like, all right, this was good, but it doesn't cut muster. And then I kind of pick my list from there, because in that way I can reflect on it, whatever, a couple years down the line and be like, oh, what did I really like in 2015?
I do that also. I just always forget that it's there. So I forget to add things to it.
Totally. Your list is your definitive,
yeah.
The way you sort.
Yes.
Nice. My number 7 is because of course, as you know, me and my love for soundtracks, I would be remiss if I did not have one, if not 2 soundtracks. As pretty soon, like maybe in like 2 or 3 years, it's going to be like
all soundtracks,
80% soundtracks. This is the first entry. It's the Ex Machina soundtrack by Ben Salisbury and Geoff Barlow, who one of them I think has some tangential relation to Portishead in some capacity. I can't remember, but it's their first score that they did together. And you saw the movie, right?
I did, and I actually recently, when I was back east, bought the soundtrack on vinyl.
Oh, there you go. Was it on beautiful white or beautiful blue?
I believe it's on white.
Nice. Yes, that is the retail variant. But yeah.
I haven't listened to it yet, but
it's okay. It's in your collection, man. It's just, it really reminds me of like, because last year, if I'm not mistaken, I put the Gone Girl soundtrack in my top year-end list. It reminds me a lot of that, because it's very minimal, electronic, atmospheric, but then there's enough to make it sound like songs as opposed to just like creating atmosphere. But it's just really, really good. And then plus, it's like anytime, to me, I also define the success of a soundtrack, and especially one that obviously isn't like an actual soundtrack in regards to, because there's a score, which technically this is a score, as opposed to a soundtrack, which is just a collection of songs that were featured in the movie.
Yeah.
Like our eternal favorite, Batman Forever. I don't know why I always reference that, but
just from a rose,
dude, for sure. And U2, I think they were on there too. But yeah, this is a score. So, anytime a score actually makes me want to rewatch a movie after listening to it once or twice, that's when I'm like, okay, that's successful, because they kind of, or you watch the movie and then you're just like, God, I gotta listen to that score. So yeah, this totally did that. And I just like it now, where I'm so heightened in watching movies that I pay such close attention to the music that's featured in it, that it's like, it's almost like the moment that I'm done with the movie, I'm like, okay, I need to get that. This needs to be part of my collection.
God, there was, when I saw that movie, The Guest.
Oh yeah.
And the second was over, I was just like, why is this not on vinyl? Why do I not have this yet? I need this right now.
Totally.
And music, obviously, music helps make the movie, obviously, that's why it's there. But you think of Mad Max Fury Road, and the music that's in that movie, if it was any different, I don't think that movie would have been as good.
Mm-hmm. It's like, to me, it's almost like more difficult to do the job of like a composer, because it's like so much is riding on your music, but at the same time, it's also like so underappreciated,
Totally.
Whereas obviously a band, they put out a record and everyone, that's the focal point, but this is to accompany it, but then also not overshine it. It's just where do you, in your head, where do you draw that line? It's this is going to be the best thing ever, but it can't be too much to distract from the awesomeness that is the movie.
I have a question about soundtracks.
Do it.
Or a specific question. Do you think Explosions in the Sky get checks from all of the soundtracks that rip them off?
I honestly, I would not I mean, I know you're asking that kind of jokingly because everybody, but there has to be like their lawyer is 100% like on retainer, actively pursuing the mimicry that is going on.
Insane.
It is. I mean, it's obviously it's like thievery, except the people are changing it enough to where it's just like that little. Oh no, it's like whatever. It's like, you know, Vanilla Ice, and obviously,
Exactly. Well, mine has a
totally.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they're a good example of like, you know, Friday Night Lights was an incredible movie, but if it, you know, had a different sound, like a different score, if it was just like, you know, Joe Schmo did it, would it have that movie have been as impactful?
Right. Nope, I don't.
They were like the first. I mean, for me, like the first time that I remember like a soundtrack being like, what is this? Even though I knew it was, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, again, no, I think it's important to make the distinction. It was a score, you know, even though it was a band performing it, but it's like, no, I agree. It's definitely the main reason that we paid attention to it was because we both liked Explosions in the Sky. So it was like that curiosity, but then just to listen to both of that combined, it was like, oh, it was a no-brainer to be so in love with the music that was featured in the movie. But yeah, I'm
still mad. I don't have the original on vinyl. I had to get the repress.
Well, you got the repress. You can buy mine for $150.
Thanks.
I have it framed on my wall. I'll do my number 6 and we'll bounce it back to you.
Yep.
The number 6 is the Sufjan Stevens record, Carrie and Lowell. I know you may have more things to say about it in the future. But God, record's so beautiful. So everything, obviously all the heaviness that is the record of, you know, him, the relationship with his parents dying, all that sort of stuff. Just like, there's so many ways that could have like gone wrong as far as like, oh, here's a person trouncing over every cliche of what it's like to, you know, have a broken family and what it's like to have a father that's not paying attention or whatever, you know, like all the rudimentary stuff that people obviously can derive artistic merit out of. But he just executes it so flawlessly and so beautifully. And even if it's like you don't engage with the lyrics, there's no way that you can't listen to the music and not be moved, you know?
Totally.
So yeah, beautiful record. Saw him, 5 or 6 months ago. And he played 90% of this record, and it just, you know, had the whole 1,500, 2,000 capacity venue that I was at, just like in the palm of his hands. Like he could have done anything he wanted to at that point, and it was just, he could have made the whole room silent for like 5 minutes, and everyone would have been like, "Sure, no problem. What do you want right now?" It was so cool to watch that take place from an artist who's, you know, I mean, theoretically huge. You know, he's in the same fashion as the Leon Bridges record, where it's just like you could play this stuff at any retail store and people would just like, "Oh, who is this?" It's like, that's the same way. But this record just, it's so next level. Just kind of puts a lot of other people who are trying to do the whole singer-songwriter thing to shame.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So what's your number 6?
My number 6 is Royal Headache, and the record is called High.
This was one that when you mentioned it to me, I wrote it down for future reference. So I'm excited to still listen to it. I haven't, but I plan on it. So tell me the vibe of the band. What are they going for?
I mean, you know, I think they, you know, would be classified as like a punk band, but to me, I get like an Exploding Hearts vibe where there's that, you know, rock, not rock and roll, you know, like I guess rock and roll vibe. Like there's more to them than, you know, just being it's not another punk band.
Right.
You know, it's catchy, there's harmonies, then they'll have like some like slow, like, I keep wanting to say doo-wop for some reason, but they're not like doo-wop songs, but like
sure. The tempo. Yeah,
like it's just an interesting record. They're from Australia, and it's like the record kind of, I think, you know, it came out on What's Your Rapture or Rapture?
Yeah, I think Rupture, but who knows? And
like sold out instantly. Like they're like blowing up. Like it's crazy. I'd be curious to see what happens when they come back.
They've played in California before.
I think so. I'm like a relatively new fan.
Sure.
Within the past, few months. So it's tough to like, I don't know if they've been here. This is their second record, so I feel like they have.
Sure. But where they're going to play next time they come through.
Yeah. If you look at like their Spotify playlist, it's like, it's impressive.
A lot of plays.
A lot of plays.
Interesting. Well, yeah, I will check out the record. And then you said, when did it come out? Like September-ish, or?
I think it came. I could look. I think it was like. I feel like it was September. That sounds right.
Okay.
Let me try to just find an answer for you real quick. Now I'm curious.
Right now you're like, oh no, it came out in February, like all my other records.
Of course it did. August 21st.
Oh, okay.
But it's like, a song on the record has over 300,000 plays.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah, like, and it's, I guess it made like related artists like Ty Segall, and I guess that, they're kind of in that world of like cool guy punk.
Right.
I don't understand, but.
Right. They have like this massive underground 14 to 18-year-old, I listen to Bandcamp all day punk.
Yes.
Right. That for some magical reason have like $75 to spend on a 3-day festival called Beach Goth. It's like, where do these people come from?
Yes.
Right.
I have no clue.
And worship at the altar of Burger Records based in Fullerton, California. It's like, what?
Who started Cassette Store Day?
Right. Oh God. And I don't say that in a disparaging way. It's just like, it's in a way that I'm like, oh yeah, well I missed that one completely.
Yeah, good for them.
Totally. More power to you. And like the impression that I get of these guys is that they just like to hang around, listen to garage, surf, whatever rock, punk stuff that they put out, and smoke weed all day.
The epitome of, and I think they're kind of like in that world, is when I think of Burger Records, I think of the band Fiddler.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, oh, we fucking drink beer and fucking smoke weed and skateboard. Like
totally.
Okay.
But then they have this captive audience of young kids. Because like Ty Segall and like all of his cronies, they're all like 23, 24 years old.
Children.
Right. And they all came from Orange County too, which is even more bizarre.
They're probably hardcore kids at some point.
Dude, Ty Segall did an interview on Mark Maron's show, and he like Laguna Beach. He went to like Laguna Beach High School. And I was like, there's no way that this guy did not get into, Epitaph Fat Records. Like, even if he was that age, he couldn't have escaped that.
Of course.
But he didn't talk about it, of course.
Of course not. That would kill his image.
I think that's that bums me out, where it's like certain people that fall into categories like that can't admit that they at one point in their life liked a different style of music. Like, I'm almost willing to wager money that it's like Youth Lagoon, like I can probably wager money that if you pressed him, he would be like, oh yeah, here's some YouTube videos that I made. That's like a pop punk thing, like, or some like singer, like, Dashboard Confessional thing. It's like, just own up to it,
Well, and that's, not to, keep telling people to buy the Julien record, but, I appreciate the fact that like, she's just like, quote unquote indie darling, and people, New York Times is writing about her, but like you read interviews and she's just like, oh, Mew That You's my favorite band. And she'll talk about like, pop punk, and like, who cares what what you listen to and what you used to listen to,
Right.
Like that shouldn't make a difference.
It totally shouldn't. But
no.
But it does to a lot of people. But anyways, that's it. We could probably do a whole that could maybe be a topic for another friendversation we'll have later.
Make a note.
Totally. You're number 6 now, right? Or no, you just did that.
Yes.
So do your 5.
Beach Slang. The things we do to find people who feel like us.
Oh yes.
Yes, this is a great record that I think I was pretty much expecting it to make my list before I even heard it.
It definitely, I think for most people that were super into the first 2 7-inches, like sight and ear unheard and unseen, like we probably would have just been like, oh yeah, this record will be great.
Yeah. And it was. It is, and still is. No, it's a great record. It's super fun. It's super catchy. It's awesome that the dude he's got to be in his 40s.
Oh, easily.
And is just having the time of his life. That's awesome.
He lived in California for a year and a half. He was working in advertising out here. And then he, I think, wrote all the Beach Slang stuff out here and then moved back out once like this 7 inches started to pick up. It was just like,
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, neither did I. So I listened to a couple. He appeared on a few different podcasts. And so, yeah, it was just like, oh, that's interesting. He definitely was like out of the game, but then got pulled back in.
Yeah. Because of Beach Slang, I bought a Weston record not that long ago.
Oh, dude, well, I love Weston. And the only reason I love Weston was because you remember my weird love for that band, Digger.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the Weston and Digger did a split 7-inch, I think, on Hopeless, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, both those bands were from like the Allentown, Pennsylvania area, so love them.
I'm excited.
Which Weston record?
The one with the kid at the desk.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm blanking on the name of it, but I know
it's the one, the cover that I think I saw the most, and it was like, $8 at a record store, and I was just like, oh, I'll pick this up.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, so I love this record. I feel like we might talk about it later. So
you may.
We all agree that reducing carbon emissions is a good thing. And once again, Toyota is leading the way. We hear a lot about fully electric vehicles, and Toyota has them, with more on the way. But we also know ABEV is not for everyone, whether it's because of cost, range, or concern about finding a charging station when you need it. Plus, the raw materials used to manufacture batteries are limited. Enter Beyond Zero, Toyota's vision for a carbon-neutral future, in vehicles and in manufacturing plants, too, in the years ahead. The materials used to make just one long-range battery for an EV could be used to make batteries for 6 plug-in hybrids or 90 gas-electric hybrids. That's why Toyota's position today is electrified, diversified, empowering you to choose how to reduce your own carbon footprint with the vehicle that's right for you. A hybrid, plug-in hybrid, or battery EV. So, shop, learn more, and get details at toyota.com/Beyond Zero. Toyota, let's go places.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit Abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
My number 5 is my second soundtrack entry, and I promised last. It is the It Follows soundtrack by Disasterpiece. And I know you saw the movie.
I did.
Unbelievable movie. The soundtrack could not be just more perfectly suited for the movie, but then also lives completely separate. Like, you could play this for someone and they would be like, they would easily be able to say like, oh, this is probably a soundtrack to a horror movie. But at the same time, it's just like this beautiful, weird piece of electronic music. And this, because the dude Disasterpiece, like I've taken a real deep dive into his back catalog. He's primarily known in like the sort of chiptune world, which is like, 8-bit Nintendo type music.
Bringing up Choir Vandals again, the bass player of Choir Vandals is super into chiptune.
Oh, okay, there you go.
He goes to like some chiptune festival every year.
Nice. There's a band called Anamanaguchi. Are you familiar with them?
They're apparently not real chiptune.
Oh,
because they're in Scott Pilgrim.
They are.
He was telling me why, like what they're like. They use other sounds. They don't. They're not. Yeah, he was.
So there's like a hard line in the sand of like true chiptune versus. Oh, geez.
Yes.
Dude, my head hurts. My head just took it. Like, I'm totally thinking of like people that debate, true black metal versus fake black metal. It's like there are kids on the other side of the spectrum who are like, no, dude, this is not true chiptune.
Yeah. It's funny that I know this now.
I know. Thank you. I'm now
could
aware.
share that with you.
Yes, thank you. The only reason I bring up Anamanaguchi is because I think I was at a show at the Observatory, and it was one of those dual bill nights, and I just remember the Anamanaguchi were playing the small stage, and I can't remember what show I went to was playing the big stage. But then just looking at the kids that were in line for Anamanaguchi, I was just like, what the fuck is this? And I feel old because I have no idea who this band is. But then once I looked into it further, I was like, oh, and they do the Nerdist song, like the little intro.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. There's another fun-filled fact for you on the Nerdist podcast. But anyways, Disasterpiece, he absolutely killed it, and I hope that he does more soundtracks because he just did such a stupendous job with this. So It Follows soundtrack, and a great piece of vinyl too. You bought the LP, didn't you?
I did. I was super bummed. I was a little late to it, and so I ordered it, and then I got the email a couple days later that was like, due to overwhelming demand, the first press is sold out. So they sent me second press, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's just such cool artwork too. I just love.
Yeah,
I like what so many of these soundtrack labels do, where it's like they commission art that is obviously taken from the movie or inspired from it, and it's not just like a really cheesy, horribly done job like most of the early 90s. Like any of the old soundtracks that I try to get a hold of, I like pick up and I look at a record store, and I'm just like, oh, this is ugly. I don't even want this. This is just like the cover of the DVD or VHS or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to charge 30 plus records or $30 plus, you better give me something to look at.
No, that's true. Good point. The moving on to my number 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
This is the Jamie XX record called In Color, or In Couleur, if you are French Canadian or Montreal or whatever. I could not be more surprised that I love this record. Even though I was just talking about how amazing Disasterpiece from the chiptune electronic music side of things is. I saw him play at the Shrine Auditorium, sold out 2 nights, 2,500 people, or actually no, Shrine Auditorium.
That's like 5,000.
Okay.
Was it in the, was it like the general admission room?
Yeah. Or, like the warehouse sort of thing.
Yeah. That's like, I think like 5,000 or a fuckload, whatever it is.
Yeah. 2 nights in a row where it's just like, oh my gosh, unbelievable. So I was just like, I specifically didn't pay for the show, and I do not feel bad about saying that because primarily.
I'm sure it wasn't cheap.
No, I mean, it had to have been like $50-$60, not to mention like the $30 of E that people needed to buy in order to experience the show or whatever. But I specifically was like, all right, I'm not going to pay for the show because I just need to, I don't know if I'm going to like this. And I'm going to be super bummed if I just spend a lot of money on an experience that sucks. I dance at the show, Joey. Like you know me, and you know that is not a common practice for me at all. And it was it was so good. He like actually was, he had a record table. He was actually performing in the sense of like, doing all of his, the sonics that he created on record, like actually live. And it was just so unbelievable. And it's like, he was able to gauge the vibe of the room, where it's like, okay, like I'm going to set it off with this, really well-known song of mine. And then I'm going to bring it down with a more mellow song that I have.
Like, was he playing, did he only play his songs, or did he just like, did he like mix in like, other songs that he like remixed or like?
Yep. He did like basically he did most of his own originals, but then basically like bars and like interludes of the stuff that he's done. Like, he did like Take Care, the Rihanna and Drake song. And so it's like everything that he worked on played a part of his set, but it wasn't like the focal point. It's not like he did the entire song,
Yeah.
But it was just so, it was unbelievable. And it's like, I mean, he must have played for 2+ hours. I mean, I left like maybe an hour and a half into it. Like, I wouldn't say unwillingly, because I was definitely like, okay, I'm tired, because he started, in usual DJ fashion, I think he started playing at like 11. So I was like, I'm not about to stay out till like 1:30 in the morning, because it's, Monday night or whatever. But he was just so good. And the record, it's if you like the XX, like, you probably will like elements of it, but it's definitely just, it's everything that he has done from his sort of production standpoint, just kind of amped up and being like, hey, I saved the best stuff for me. Okay.
Yeah. Are there vocals? Or is it...
there are vocals. Like, it's like, I want to say like Young Thug is on a song.
And were those people there? Or was it just like he would just play the like?
I was expecting him to have like guest people come out, because it seemed like a perfect opportunity for, it's like, okay, here you are in LA, like you're gonna have, oh, here's Kanye. Like, not like he's on a song or anything, but still like have a really big reveal. Nothing. It's just him. So he would just play the songs.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And he would sing like his parts and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was just all piped in through the records that he was playing. But the only reason that I'm talking about this record so much is because it was such a like left field experience for me to be like, oh my gosh, like I listened to the record a lot before, so that's why I was hyped up for the show. But then even after it, I'm like, there's no way I can't put this record in my top 10. So,
well, that's actually a nice segue into my number 4.
Beautiful.
Which is Joanna Newsom, Divers, because this record just came out of left field. Like, I'd heard her in the past and was just not into it. Her voice is
unique
to say the least. And it just, I had, the rare experience these days that, because I hear everything beforehand, because I'm just an idiot like that, but like of being in a record store and having, the guy put on a record and being like, what is this? And actually asking the guy working at the record store, like, what it was, and buying the record based off that. Like, I haven't done that in a long time. So it was a cool way to find this record. And it's just, it's blown me away.
Right.
Like it's the biggest surprise. Like
this feels like how you're actually supposed to get into a record, like at a record store.
Yes. It was very organic. Not like, well, I guess I'm just going to scroll through, which I do enjoy, like scrolling through the new releases on Spotify. Like it just felt like this is how, I missed this. So it was, and it stayed in rotation, and yeah. If you would have told me in January that a Joanna Newsom record would make my top 10, I probably would have laughed at you. But
right. You're drunk.
Yeah, but it is. This record's blown me away. I don't know if I haven't really gone backwards yet. I plan to, but this, I don't know if there's more like instrumentation to this record, and it's not. I don't know if on the one. I feel like the one I heard before was just a lot of harp and her vocals, like not much else. So that. I don't know.
Right. You don't have a basis of comparison. Like it's almost cooler to do exactly what you have done, where it's like you come into a person's like, catalog so late, and you don't have any of these other, the baggage that sometimes we carry around when we've been a fan of an artist for so long. That it's just like refreshing to be like, oh, this is their 17th record, dude. It's super into it. Just found out about it last month.
Like, and that's what I'm curious if, like, her, like, longtime fans are like, this record sucks. Like, I have no clue, and I don't really care.
It's like the Alkaline Trio. My aim is true. So you're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, like I'm sure everyone else is like, no, the one with her dressed up like the Maiden, that's the best record.
Right.
Like, okay, if you say so. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very happy with this record.
And I guess number 4 maybe in the future should just be our like surprise slot, where we're just like, dude,
a left field.
Right, you never would have expected this from me, but here it is.
Yes.
So what's your number 3?
Leon Bridges, Coming Home.
There you go. There he is.
Not much more to say about it. but it is, you know, it was before I even heard it was recommended to me by a mutual friend, Brandon Porter, who described it as boinking music. So I don't know if it was, and you'd think that would turn me off.
Right, and then you threw up immediately.
Yeah, because he says boink, but it, you know, I listened to it against, you know, a better judgment of his description and was pleasantly surprised. I'm very curious to see what he does next.
Oh, for sure. Do you, and this is obviously a joking question, but like when you're a person who obviously makes music that is considered quote unquote boinking music, where it's like, you know, whatever, you're D'Angelo, you're, you know, Sade, like whatever, all these people who are making like, you know, sexy music, like, is it one of those things where it's like are you ever tempted to listen to your own record? You know, or you be like, okay, well, I've made the definitive sex record, so it's like, or do you go the opposite direction where you're just like, okay, well, I'm going to play something like super abrasive. Like, let me just put on some Cannibal Corpse and get you in the mood.
I'm going to listen to Slayer and
right.
Yeah,
let's put on some Cryptopsy. Yeah, great record. Obviously, echo your sentiments.
Yes.
My number 3 record is Zombi, Shapeshift. This is a band I've loved for quite some time. They released this record on Relapse. 2-man group, well, I was going to say guitarist, but basically multi-instrumentalist and drummer. They basically just kind of, and without pinning them into a complete corner, 70s-ish, like synth, horror-ish sort of soundtrack music, but created by a live band, which obviously separates them from a lot of other bands. And the fact that these dudes like did it for so long, touring in a van. Like the first time I saw them was at Dillinger Escape Plan at Chain Reaction in like 2001 or something like that.
That's crazy.
To where kids were just like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, I love every second of this. And so it definitely, you know, kind of keyed me up to liking so many of the soundtracks that, you know, I eventually ended up loving. They paved the way.
I say, were they the gateway for you?
I mean, they definitely helped. I would really cite them just because it was like, you know, I mean, obviously I know that we can love bands that existed prior to us being able to see them live, but there's something that's so incredible about watching something in front of you and then being able to like really latch on to it on so many different levels. So yeah, cause it's like, you know, I never was able to see, you know, Goblin until they reformed in the past couple of years. But it's like, you know, in 2001, I never would have been like, oh yeah, I'll see Goblin. It's like, yeah, I love the Dawn of the Dead soundtrack, but am I ever going to see that live? No.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this record is just building on everything that they've done in the past, but they really key into just differentiating their sound a little bit. There's a little more maybe like science fiction-y elements to it, but just if you think of like pro studio musicians, like you could put these dudes into like any situation, be like, hey, can you write a mariachi song? Sure, no problem. Like they're just so pro about it, and the fact that they decide to put their professional music on a, you know, fictionalized soundtrack to science fiction and horror movies is just like, oh, it warms my heart. So way to go, guys. Way to go, Zombie.
Good job, guys.
Yes. My number 2 record is the Turnover record, Peripheral Vision. I know we did not speak about this last time, but I think I know you and I were texting about the band, and you're like, I can't listen to this band because of their promo shots.
There's a lot of tucked in t-shirts.
And it was funny because I just love your very, very random, like, I can't do this because of that. Like you always have you never cease to entertain me, or you never cease to impress me with the connections that you make of like, oh yeah, I won't eat In-N-Out Burger because I threw up 15 years ago because of it.
7.
So yeah, but anyways, I just had to put that in there. But Turnover, I like the first record they put out. Like the first 3 songs are really good, then the rest of the record kind of falls apart. And then I saw them. They opened up for Koji at Chain Reaction on that record. They're really good. But this record, they just like, hey, so all that sort of shoegazy stuff that every band is trying to sound like now, how about we do that, except make it really, really catchy? And that's exactly what they did. And it's in the same way that Tallest Man on Earth record of like when it's over, you just want to listen to it again. Same thing with this turnover record for me. So that's why it's like I was really tossing and turning between my number one and number two, and this ultimately ended up with number two. But such a good record. It
is. I came around. I got past the promo picture.
I'm glad.
And I really enjoyed this record. It made my honorable mention.
Good.
Yes, it is a good record. I haven't seen them since, I think it might have actually been that Koji tour. The Koji tour? Ivy League toured with them.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was the same. Yep, same tour.
So, yeah, that was the last time I saw them. And I honestly don't know how much of it I watched.
Yeah. They did really, I specifically went to see them with The Story So Far, whatever, a month and a half, 2 months ago. So late 2015. And I was like, all right, this is going to be a rough opening slot for them, playing to a bunch of pop punk kids. And even though they're on Run for Cover, but like, I didn't expect that much reaction. Kids were losing their minds. I just like,
that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see where they can go from here.
Yeah.
Way to go, Turnover. What's your,
good job.
What's your number two?
My number two is a self-titled record by Natalie Prass.
Okay.
It was from Nashville / Richmond. I don't know which came first or where she lives now. But I know she's lived in both. This was recorded at the same place that the Julien record was recorded, with Space Bomb Studios in Richmond. Did like Matthew E. It's like do you know Matthew E. White?
Oh yeah.
Domino. It's like him and another guy. Like it's kind of like a collective like studio thing, and she recorded there. She's kind of part of that world. And it's just like this, if like Jenny Lewis had more, like was more like orchestral or like there's like some soul elements, like it's this record came out of earlier in the year, and it's just has stuck with me throughout. And this was for a while was my number one record, and it it got bumped to number two, but I think that's still pretty good.
Yep.
And
and who put I forgot. Did you say Domino put this out, or is this?
It was Matthew E. White's on Domino. It was released on Space Bomb, but like immediately, Columbia was like, "Oh, pump the brakes. We're gonna." And it was re-released on Star Time. Star Time, yeah. Okay. So I think the same label as like Bolly.
Got it.
But it's through Columbia, I believe.
Nice.
Yeah, and what's cool is like the record's got all this like instrumentation and all this like interesting stuff, and then I saw her live recently, and she just played as a 4-piece, so the songs were like restructured, and it was just cool to see like her like take the songs, and they still essentially sounded the same, but like hearing like the bones of them.
Right.
It was cool.
The transition from like what it is on the record versus what they could do live with it.
Yeah. It'll be cool to see. I'm assuming like assuming she gains more popularity and grows, and if what she'd be able to do with like, if she would bring more people on the road and see what she could do then.
That's exciting to watch. Like always have kind of the what ifs, because usually we observe music in a very static state. It's like whatever the band. It's like a 5-piece band. Like what are they going to do? Like maybe add a keyboardist. Like maybe they'll do one show where it's like something different. But like to watch a band that can kind of scale up and down like that is pretty exciting.
It was like when Bright Eyes Lifted came out, and there was like the big deal of like he was touring with like a 13-piece band or something, but it was like you didn't really know what you were going to get the next time, and like I think the next after that tour I think I saw him and there was like 5 people with him, and the next time there was 8. It's just like, or he's by himself, like
right.
It's always cool, and then it's cool to see how the songs are reworked in that sense also.
Sure, it's very versatile.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice. So then what is your number one record, Joey? Tell us.
My number one record is Sufjan Stevens' Carrie and Lowell.
Nice.
Yes. I was, I think, a casual fan. I'm like every person who likes indie rock have a copy of Illinois.
Of course. You're not a Sufjan head?
No. So like I had, what was the Age of Ads? Mm-hmm. Like that, like, I'm just a casual fan, and there was so much like hype and like good press about this record. I was like, all right, I probably wouldn't have ever really listened to it, otherwise. And so I saw the people talking about it. I was like, fine, I'll listen to it. And it was just immediately just like, holy shit.
What is this?
What is happening? It's just, I mean, I love listening to the record with my head, like in headphones, because you can hear like, he'll sing like, he'll do the like vocals like twice, like overdubbed. And I really like hearing like when he stops lines a little bit shorter, just like there's so many like, and I don't know if it's on purpose or if it's just like, who knows, but like there's just so many like cool little things about this record for a record that's so quiet and, for lack of a better word, simple, even though it's, it's not simple at all. It's just, it's a very interesting and, I don't know, great record.
Yeah, no, I obviously I agree, but I mean, I think there is something that you said in there that I find really interesting of just like the execution of it all it's to me, it's like flawlessly put together where the whatever imperfections that are there like were clearly deliberately left there, and like he obviously listened to them and thought about this and was like, no, this like it sounds cool, I want to keep it like that, or no, I want to move this around because of this or whatever. And it does. I mean, all of his records do have that feeling of like, oh, this is pulled from one person's crazy brain, and just because his other ones were so ambitious and so large and so like wide scale that you felt like this one was even more difficult to pull out of him just because he has been on that road of like, all right, dude, like here's your crazy electronic record.
Like Age of Ads is a weird record.
It's super weird. And like there's nothing, and I guess one could argue that this is like his most, obviously from a musical standpoint, his simplest record, but then also just kind of his most straightforward, just like, besides the fact that he's, making songs about states, like, I guess that's pretty straightforward, but like, really like just the sort of tried and true, what is a singer songwriter? Like I was talking about when I was talking about the record of just like, what subjects do you talk about? It's like death, family, blah, blah, blah. It's like there's so many things that he could have done wrong, but the record just kills it. Yeah.
I've never seen him and I would like to see him.
Yeah.
I think it was last week. There's like this, I don't know, his name's Gallant, I think it's Gallant, who's, I think, like an R&B singer, posted like I guess he's toured with Sufjan Stevens before, but did a cover of Blue Bucket of Gold, which is on the record, and Sufjan Stevens actually playing piano and singing backups.
Oh.
And it's like, that sounds like an R&B song. It's just like, it's such a, taking a song that, is essentially fairly simple-ish and just turning it into, it's the same melodies and everything, but the song sounds so incredibly different. It's really cool if you can find it look on the internet.
I'll Google it, as they say, or no, I'll Bing it, as the kids say.
Yeah, everyone wants to Bing it. But yeah, that's my number one record.
Nice. Yeah. And in a recurring theme that we've mentioned this record before, my number one is the Beach Slang record, The Things We Do to Find People Who Feel Like Us. You've obviously said all of the great things about it previously. It's weird. Obviously you and I are of the same age. We're in our mid-30s and we've been listening to this sort of weird independent music for, almost half of our lives. Well, actually, no. Yeah. 20-ish years, whatever. We get into it when we're 14, 15. So 20 years or so. That now we can listen to records that make us feel young. And that's what this record does for me. Yes. It's like, by all stretches of the imagination, what he is saying in the lyrics isn't, there's nothing that's necessarily new. Like his phrasing and his earnestness is definitely unique, like you said, the kind of the fact that he's on his second go around and with trying to make a band work and break it or whatever. But there's so much of this that could go wrong and just feel like, oh gosh, all right, great, yeah, earnest, heartfelt replacements type punk with heart on your sleeve vocal or heart on your sleeve lyrics. Like, cool, haven't heard that one before. But it's like, dude, come on. You guys just do it perfectly. It makes you want to pump your fist in the air and do all the things that you did when you were 17 years old, and you can still do when you're 35, or you can still do when you're 45. It doesn't necessarily matter. And he just hits that nail right on the head. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell the story of when I saw them recently, like a couple months ago.
I've unfortunately was not able to attend.
I know
I've heard great stories.
Yes, and you tried to attend both of the shows, but they were both sold out, right? Yes. Yeah. So I was able to, because my friend plays bass with Beach Slang. No big deal, Joey. So just calm down, okay? So I went to go see him. They started playing at 11ish or so. It was, whatever, school night. And I was just like, all right, cool. Beach Slang, they only have a certain amount of songs, so they can't play for too long, right? Boy, was I wrong. I've to this day, and I really doubt I'll ever see this happen again, where the rest of the band was like, all right, we're done, right? And the singer James was like, nah, man, here we go. Let's do some more songs. Let's do the songs that we played already again. How about some covers? Oh, we only know half the song? Sure, let's play that. And it almost was like an endurance test, because I left, it was probably maybe, I don't know, hour and a half into it, or maybe an hour, 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I just can't do this. I'd love to say goodbye to my friend like a real human being does, but I can't. And our mutual friend, Jeremy, who was obviously supposed to be on this podcast, he stayed for an additional 15 or 20 minutes, and he texted me afterwards where he's like, just finished. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then shortly after that, the bassist of the band texted me and was like, hey, I'm sorry about that. I was like, oh my gosh. And I don't say this story to air out any dirty laundry, because I don't think there was a feeling of the rest of the band was mad at James for continuing to try to play the songs, but it was just a weird vibe, because people didn't know if it was a joke, and people didn't know if it was wait, should we be leaving now? And it got to the point where the singer was like, if you guys need to go, that's fine. We're not going to fault you. We're just going to be here for a while, working our shit out. And it was
that's awesome.
More power to you guys. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's very, very symptomatic of how that band carries themselves, and how especially him, James, wants to feel the world. Yeah,
I need to see them.
Yeah,
and I will. Next time I'll buy tickets in advance.
I know exactly. That's the band's first time through California. That's what happens.
Yeah,
I saw them also after it was at Riot Fest. They did I wouldn't even say an after show, because they didn't even play Riot Fest, but they played the Beat Kitchen, and I went to see them, and it was I'm not even exaggerating, they're maybe 13th show, definitely the first time in Chicago, 200 kids singing along, and I was like, whoa, this is going to be a big thing in the near future, and that's where it's going.
Well, that was at Fest this past year. I figured I was going to see him in San Diego, which I didn't, but I was like, all right, I can attempt to see Beach Slang, or I can just go see Modern Life is War. And I was like, I've seen Modern Life is War a million times. I don't want to deal with a line. I'm just going to stay.
Totally. You're like, I can't do this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's the convenience that really makes it our decisions for us.
Exactly.
You want to do some quick movie TV talk?
Yeah. Let's bang it out.
I mean, I know both of our favorite movies because we've both discussed this already, but the Mad Max Fury Roads captured both of our attentions. What did you enjoy about it so much?
Just the visuals. There could have been no dialogue at all, and I think the movie still would have. You would have been able to follow what was going. Not that there was a ton of dialogue, but it wasn't a necessity. It's a beautiful looking movie. The scene of them driving into the storm from a distance, which is this the clouds coming in. It looked unbelievable for, who would have thought that a Mad Max reimagining or prequel or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I was definitely not and up until I saw the first trailer, because that blew me away. But before that was just I don't care.
Right. Totally. It's okay, I guess this is cool. I guess we should care about this. But yeah, so I do like your point about the movie could have been silent and you probably would have known as much about the world as like we did, even with the sparse dialogue that there was. Like you're just, there's so many wide swaths of the movie you're just supposed to like casually understand. Like I forced Kate to watch it, my wife, just because I was like, you'll enjoy this. And she did at the end of it. But there were so many times where I could just see by the look in her face where it's just like, wait, so like milk is sustaining this person? Like they're milking women? Like there's so many pieces of the universe that you're just like, okay, I guess that's how it goes. But like, why is it? No, don't ask that question. It's not important.
Well, and it's like, I mean, for me, it's like, I don't go to if I see a movie, I don't see it. So rarely will I go see it twice in the theater. And this movie I saw twice in the theater.
Right.
Which I think says something. It also says something for the new Star Wars, which I've also seen twice.
Perfect. Force Awakens shout out. I mean, no one's seen the movie yet, so they definitely need our podcast.
Yeah, if you have not seen it, it's this movie called Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Let's just say there's a very cute droid named BB-8 that will capture your heart.
Yes.
I just want to go ahead.
This was just a crazy year for movies. Like, I think I saw more movies this year than I've seen in recent years. And I mean, there's so like The Hateful Eight was great.
So good.
Room was great.
I haven't seen that yet.
It'll punch you in the stomach, but
right.
It's
not an easy watch.
No, but I mean, there were so many good movies this year.
I loved the like Ex Machina was obviously really loved that. Sicario was unbelievable.
Yeah,
so tense. I also I actually had to debate whether or not I should put that score in my top 10 list, but I was like, dude, I can't. Come on, 3 soundtracks. Like, again, that's another couple of years, but because it was done by that Johansson guy who did like Prisoners and some other movies. Basically, the same director as Sicario. Like they have the same trajectory. They just work together in all their movies. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, and then there's one documentary that I want to force people to watch on Netflix called Call Me Lucky. It's by a political satirist / stand-up comedian named Barry Crimmins. Bobcat Goldthwait directed it. Talk about a movie that will just like, there's the notion, and there's so many people that say this about obviously our political system, about the world in general, of just like, okay, one person can't make a difference. Just watch that movie. And then you'll be like, oh no, you're right. One person can make a difference. It's not easy. It's not an easy movie to watch. It's documentary. It's pretty dark, but it's completely, you'll come out the other end being motivated, transformed, whatever cliche you want to put there, but it's so good.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's really just toss it on your my list, and you'll
never get to it like I do with anything else on my list.
Well, yeah, that's right. But at least it could be bookmarked.
At least I won't forget about it. I'll keep going back like, oh yeah, I need to watch this, and one day I will get to it.
What about TV? What did you what tickled your fancy this year?
Obviously, Review, which I'll talk about every year,
right?
As long as there's no new episodes. You're the Worst was a show that was great in its first season and only got better this past season. I
finally shotgunned it because I had like 6 or 7 episodes on backlog. But yeah, like I think it was like the second to last episode. There was the main character, not Gretchen, right? Is that her name? Or is Gretchen the friend?
No, yeah, it's Gretchen.
Okay, anyways, where Gretchen looks at the guy character, I can't remember his name, but she's just like, you stayed. And granted, this isn't a spoiler, but it's just like, that was like, what, 5 seconds, and then it cut to the credits? It was just so emotional.
Oh my, I mean, for a show that's so goddamn funny, like, they just hit like, depression and just like these deep emotions that, like your typical comedy won't hit on. And it's like, it's a show, it actually makes you feel things as opposed to, most 30-minute comedies on TV.
Right. Just here. Let's hit our punchlines and we're out of here.
Yeah. I guess my list is rather comedy heavy, but that's okay. Catastrophe on Amazon.
Oh yeah.
It's phenomenal.
That was cute. I liked it.
Casual on Hulu was great.
Oh, I didn't watch that. You subscribe to Hulu?
I subscribe to everything. I can't miss out.
Are you going to jump on the CISO, the NBC comedy streaming service?
I mean, I still have. I don't even know what that is.
Dude, there you go.
I mean, I just feel like people are going to talk about stuff, and I hate not being able to like.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't know why I initially signed up for Hulu, but I did, and that show Casual is so goddamn good. Yeah. I don't even know if Bloodline came out this year, but I watched it this year.
Wait, what was it?
Bloodline on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. It came out earlier this year.
It's a slow burn, but man, it is so good.
Got it. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's all I've heard as well. I haven't watched any of it, and it's like, I know you gotta put your head down and get through it.
And I know I'm probably missing a million things, but that's okay. Yeah, what do you got?
The Mr. Robot was unbelievable.
Like I said, I missed a whole bunch. Mr. Robot was phenomenal.
Loved that show. I also like, in my head, I believe that Christian Slater is the same character as what he was in Gleaming the Cube and Pump Up the Volume. Like he's just, the character he plays in Mr. Robot is just a grown up version of that.
Yeah.
I just love that. And Fargo season 2 was just like a work of art, a masterpiece.
Yes.
There's some things that just like words don't do it justice, where you're just like, how did that come together?
Well, it's crazy. So Fargo season 2 and Leftover season 2 were, to me, I mean, I think Leftovers, obviously, I don't know if you watched that, but we're like light years better than the first.
Yo, completely.
The first season, especially like a show like Leftovers, that was like the first season I enjoyed. A lot of people didn't, but just we're just going to reboot this, and just pretty much start from scratch with some of the characters, and just knocked it out of the park. It's almost like not having to use, be based off the source material like Fargo or the book The Leftovers, and being able to kind of write your own story. They were just able to do what they want, and yeah, like you said, just knocked it out of the park.
Totally. Yeah, they really, they outdid themselves. So it's weird too, because obviously we're in a day and age where it's like ratings don't even necessarily matter. It's just the critical buzz that kind of happens in the word of mouth. Cause it's Fargo and You're the Worst and all these shows that get kept around aren't because people are watching them. It's the podcast audience that I have is probably 1/8 of some of these shows. And you're just like, dude, what world do we live in where it's people are listening to people like you and I blabber on, and they're not watching these amazing pieces of art.
Well, I read an interview, or I don't know if it was an interview or something, a quote from the guy who runs FX, and that show Married came on at the same time as You're the Worst, and Married got canceled, and its ratings were probably better than You're the Worst, and pretty much just said You're the Worst critical acclaim is kind of what's
what kept it around.
It's good to have those shows as part of your catalog, especially as TV's going into this the streaming services, and who knows what people are even going to have cable down the line. It's just I want to subscribe to Netflix or FX, and I want HBO and CBS, and that's my package.
Right.
So it's having building that catalog and having these critically acclaimed shows that people will eventually watch. I think that's why The Americans is still on the air.
Totally. All these shows that are just so good, and 40 people are watching them.
Yes.
It's crazy that it's in the hundreds of thousands that these people are watching, where it's whatever, a shitty show like MASH has 40 million people watch the series finale, and it's oh God, that's because there's no choice.
More people watch The Challenge than a lot of these shows, and as they should, because The Challenge is the greatest thing on TV. But
it's nuts.
Yeah.
Right. But there's no way that you and I could argue the artistic merits of The Challenge versus Fargo.
Yeah, exactly. Fargo's
clearly a quote unquote better show, but The Challenge is a more important show.
It's just a bunch of knuckleheads running into each other.
Totally. The Jinx was incredible. I know obviously everyone's watching Making a Murder right now, which is, very akin to The Jinx, but those were just revelatory as far as the way that, taking these real life cases that, Dateline would have focused on 20 years ago, and making it really compelling, a narrative story out of them that is shocking it's unbelievable.
Yes.
And then the only funny show that I actually have on my list, because I liked all those other shows that you mentioned, But Man Seeking Woman, oh my God. In the same way that like, I'm like, so are whatever, hundreds of thousands of people are watching those other shows. I feel like 2,000 people are watching this show. It's like no one is talking about this show, but for whatever reason, it got picked up for a second season. But the first season is so funny. It is so bizarre. It just takes every premise of like a single guy in the city looking for love and just flips it on its head. Like I'll illustrate the pilot episode where it's like he gets set up on a blind date via his sister. This is the main character, Jay Baruchel. He goes on a date with this girl, and his sister's describing her, and she's like, you know, she's whatever, saying, oh, she's funny, she's nice. And then Jay Baruchel's character's like, wait, but she didn't say she was pretty. So she might be kind of ugly. She might be kind of like a troll. Like, I think he says that to one of his friends. And then he legitimately shows up to a restaurant and a troll is sitting across from him. And it's not like a girl talking like a troll, or
it's a
like,
legit troll
that doesn't speak English and ends up trying to bite his leg off. And it's like, it's absurd to like the umpteenth degree. And the fact that it's like Lauren Michaels is his executive producer. And I'm just like, I mean, to me, that's the only reason it's probably still on the air.
Yeah.
But it's so good. And the second season just started. I watched the first episode of it, and it was just like, oh, are you kidding me? It is so good.
That's a show I need to catch up on. Or watch.
Yeah, it's just, and plus, I mean, it's half an hour. It's exactly the same. It's still, honestly, it's a very good companion piece to You the Worst, because it's not as like, I guess like a gooey center that You're the Worst has, but there's still emotional beats that get hit that you're just like, oh, even though this is like so wrapped up in absurdity, it's hitting on some very, very true feelings that we all have in our lives.
Yeah. All right. I'll make that happen. I'll add it to the list and actually get to it.
Well, I think we did it, Joey. That is the definitive 2015 list of stuff you should put in your eyeballs and ear holes.
Yes,
and
we did it.
Let simmer in your head. So, and this recording will not be lost to the annals of time. So, as long as I press stop accordingly here.
You sure you hit record?
Oh, actually, can we do it from the top again?
So my number 10 record.
Yes. Oh, no. I think we'd be too tired for that. Well, thank you, Joey. I appreciate it.
Of course.
You've been listening to the Jabberjaw Podcast Network, jabberjawmedia.com. Shh.
Have you heard about Vyvgart, Efgart Tegamod Alpha FCAB? Ask your neurologist if Vyvgart could be right for you and learn more at vyvgart.com/learn. That's VYVGART.com/learn. Brought to you by Argenx.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I have asthma. I'm at risk too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
Hey, hair enthusiasts, picture this. Perfect curls at the push of a button. It's the new Infinity Pro by Conair Curl Secret Ceramic Auto Curler. This tool makes styling effortless, delivering perfect, long-lasting curls every single time. Choose from 3 preset curl types and directions for your desired look and 5 temperature options for all hair types. And don't worry about tangles. Our anti-tangle tech and ceramic barrel keep hair smooth and protected. Hair goes in, curl comes out, just like magic. Get effortless curls with the new Curl Secret by Conair, available at all major retailers.